And it's my favorite word.
Tariffs.
Tariffs.
That most of President Trump's tariffs are not legal.
The single dumbest chart in human history. That
President Trump's so-called big beautiful bill kicks in late next year.
Trump's tariffs are raking in billions. Where does it all go? For years, tariffs sat quietly in U.S. policy, used occasionally to protect industries or settle trade disputes. But in 2025, under Trump's second term, they've become a key economic tool. The U.S. has already pulled in over $87 billion this year. It's no longer just about trade, it's about revenue. So where's all that money going? Chapter 1. A $300 billion question. So here's the deal. Tariffs are basically taxes on stuff coming into the country. They get collected at the border, ports, customs, airports, wherever goods enter the U.S. The idea is simple. Make foreign products more expensive so American-made ones look better by comparison. But since Trump stepped back into office, the tariff game has changed big time. A flat 10% tax now hits almost everything imported. And for key sectors like steel, cars, aluminum, semiconductors, and electronics, that number jumps sometimes as high as 50%. These aren't just political gestures. They're real, sweeping taxes. And they're bringing in a jaw-dropping amount of money. Chapter 2. Billions at the border. This massive surge in tariff revenue hasn't gone unnoticed. In June 2025 alone, the U.S. government pulled in $26.6 billion, nearly 4 times what it collected in the same month just a year earlier. If things keep going at this pace, total tariff income could pass $300 billion by the end of the year. That would make it one of the biggest non-income tax revenue sources in recent U.S. history, right up there with corporate taxes. It's a staggering jump for a policy tool that, not long ago, was barely contributing anything. And now, it's quietly becoming a central part of how the U.S. government pays its bills. The question is, how sustainable is it? Chapter 3. Who's really paying? But revenue is only part of the story. The real question is, who's actually paying these tariffs? Politicians say the U.S. is making foreign countries pay for unfair trade. Trump even claims China is paying us billions. But that's not how it really works. It's usually American importers who write the checks at the border. So where does that money go? It doesn't just disappear. The added cost doesn't just stay with distributors who raise their prices, which pushes retailers to do the same. Before you know it, those higher prices show up on store shelves. So it's really everyday Americans who end up paying more, often without even noticing. But just how much extra is, and who truly benefits from these tariffs? Is it possible these tariffs are quietly hitting working families where it hurts most, while big corporations and politicians get all the praise? It's a hidden tax that most people don't see coming, but it's affecting millions of households every day. Chapter 4. The hidden tax. You can really feel the impact. Whether it's your smartphone, a washing machine, or even basic building materials, prices have been creeping up quietly. Even things made right here in the US aren't immune, since a lot of American products depend on parts imported from abroad. Take a car built in Michigan, it might still have steel from Brazil or chips from Taiwan. When tariffs hit those parts, the cost doesn't just stop there, it pushes the price of the entire product higher. For a lot of families, that might mean shelling out an extra $100 on a fridge, or a few hundred more for a used car. Now imagine that extra cost hitting millions of families. Those little increases quickly add up, squeezing budgets and forcing people to rethink their purchases. Chapter 5. Where does the money go? Instead of going into a special pot, the tariff money just flows into the U.S. Treasury's big general fund, the same one that collects income and corporate taxes. From there, it can be spent on anything: paying down the national debt, funding the military, covering Medicare, or helping reduce the budget deficit. The Trump administration talked about things like sending rebate checks to Americans or investing in bringing manufacturing jobs back. But so far, none of those ideas have become a reality. So even though the money is real and significant, where it actually goes is still unclear, and a lot of people are left wondering what it's really paying for. Chapter 6. Who actually wins? But it's not all downside. Some industries actually come out ahead when tariffs are in play. Think about American steel, aluminum, or auto companies, the ones constantly battling with cheaper imports. When those foreign goods get slapped with extra tariffs, their prices go up. And that shift gives US manufacturers some breathing room. All of a sudden, they're not being undercut as easily. They can bump up prices slightly or reclaim a bigger chunk of the market just because the playing field isn't tilted quite so heavily against them anymore. In some areas, that's led to jobs being saved or even brought back in industries that people once thought were dead. For struggling towns that have seen factories close and work disappear, that feels like a win. And for politicians, it's a great story to tell. Bring jobs back, put America first, tax foreign competition, and use that money to rebuild the country. Simple in theory, but much more complex in reality. Chapter 7. The payback cycle. Protecting certain industries might sound like a smart move on paper, but there's always a trade-off. Economists have been saying it for years. Broad tariffs might offer short-term relief to a few sectors, but they often cause long-term damage across the board. Sure, some industries benefit, but others, especially those connected to global supply chains, end up taking the hit. One clear example: American farmers. They're often the first to feel the blowback when other countries respond with tariffs of their own. If China or the European Union puts a tax on US soybeans or beef, that's not just politics. That's someone losing a sale they were counting on. It means lost income, shipments stalled, and markets that were open yesterday suddenly shutting down. And when you're running a farm, living day to day, that kind of disruption is more than frustrating. It's devastating. What might look like a tough strategic move from Washington can land like a punch to the gut in small towns. And the pain doesn't stop there. It spreads to the workers, to local businesses, to entire communities built around agriculture. When farmers hurt, the ripple effect is real. Chapter 8. Behind the rising price tags. Inflation is becoming a bigger worry. By mid-2025, prices had gone up noticeably in a bunch of everyday items. Not all of that is because of tariffs, but they definitely play a part. When costs start creeping up across the board, the Federal Reserve faces tough choices like whether to raise interest rates. That makes borrowing more expensive, so people hold back on buying homes or businesses put off investing. So yeah, tariffs bring in government cash, but they also stir things up in the economy in ways most folks don't really notice at first. Chapter 9. The New Economic Wall. Even with all the debate and costs, Trump and his team keep pushing tariffs, not just as a way to bring in money, but as a bigger statement. They talk about tariffs as a kind of economic patriotism, a break from years of free trade policies. It's their way of saying America can't keep opening its doors and helping rival countries grow stronger at its own expense. For many folks, especially in towns where factories shut down and jobs disappeared overseas, this message really hits home. Tariffs aren't just another tax. They're seen as a way for the country to finally stand up and push back after years of being taken advantage of in the global marketplace. Chapter 10. Counting the costs. A lot of experts aren't buying all the hype about the long-term cash coming in from these tariffs. Sure, the government's making good money now, but here's the catch. When prices rise, fewer things get imported, and that means less money from tariffs down the line. Plus, businesses and buyers might start finding ways around the taxes, like using suppliers in countries without tariffs. So, while the numbers look impressive today, the actual long-term payoff could be way smaller than what the administration says. Chapter 11. Can tariffs replace income taxes? Looking forward, the role of tariffs in shaping U.S. economic policy may only expand. If revenues continue rising and political support remains strong, it's possible that tariffs will become a semi-permanent fixture of the national budget. Some within Trump's economic circle have even floated the idea of using tariffs to partially replace income taxes, though most analysts consider that far-fetched without severe economic consequences. Nevertheless, it signals a shift in thinking, the idea that border taxes could serve not just as trade tools, but as primary levers of national finance. Chapter 12. Tariffs, more than just revenue. On the surface, tariffs seem like a win. They bring in big money, help protect American industries, and push back against foreign competition. But there's a catch. That money doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It comes from the everyday things we buy, our phones, appliances, and even groceries. Tariffs quietly drive prices up and put extra pressure on international trade. While the government's bank account grows, everyday consumers end up paying the price. Every ship that pulls into an American port adds extra costs that slowly work their way into the things we buy. So yeah, tariffs bring in a lot of money for the government, but those hidden fees, regular folks end up paying them bit by bit without even noticing. Chapter 13. A gamble with real consequences. The government likes to talk about the extra money tariffs bring in, but the real question is whether this is just a short-term win or something that will change the economy in ways we don't fully understand yet. Tariffs don't just affect numbers on paper. They affect company decisions on production locations, how much we pay at the store, and who ends up paying those extra costs. They can drive prices higher, cause problems with trade partners, and even affect jobs. So, while the headlines focus on the rising money, it's important to ask, who is really paying for this, and what are we giving up? The risks are real, and the decisions made now will impact all of us in the future. What's the real cost behind these billions? Stay tuned next. We uncover who's quietly cashing in on the tariff game